Hey everyone, my name is Luv Aggarwal, and I'm a data platform solution engineer for IBM Data AI. And today we'll be having a conversation about how to successfully adopt artificial intelligence and data science within an organization. And to help me do that, I'd like to welcome Mr. Nitin Singhal. Nitin is a distinguished technical data science leader and brings a depth of expertise in predictive analytics and optimization solutions. Hey Nitin, how are you doing?
Hey, love. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. So, Nitin, you've led countless enterprise AI and data science projects. Let's start with asking what are the common characteristics that you've noticed that make organizations successful in AI?
Yes, love. In my experience over the past decade or so, working with so many companies around their successful data science initiatives, what we have learned or what we have experienced is that companies needs to have a twofold thinking. One is on the strategy side, and the other one is on the technology side. So, on the strategy side, sometimes companies have a tendency to start off with data science as like science experiments. And that is the biggest mistake to make. When companies are starting off with data science, they need to be very cognizant of their first project. For that particular initiative, they need to have KPIs in place. They need to ensure that it is increasing the revenue, decreasing the cost, and mitigating the risks. So don't start off with AI as a science experiment. Rather, start off with AI on a particular project. For that, you need to have tangible metrics. For that particular project that you're starting off, do get the buy-in from the end users who are going to be using AI. Trust in AI is super critical for successful implementation. So the end consumer of the application has to have the buy-in by the development team for a successful AI. And last but not the least, for that particular project for that you have gotten the buy-in, you need to ensure what is your data science human capital strategy. You cannot be depending on external vendors to do data science all the time for you. As a company, if you have to grow and become more competitive in the marketplace, you need to ensure that you are inculcating and fostering data science talent internally within the organization. So start off with the right project, trust in AI, and have a human capital strategy for harnessing data science talent.
Right, right. And that makes a lot of sense, right? Because especially the trust in AI component. You can spend months and millions of dollars, building out some kind of data science project, but if the end users aren't going to take those recommendations seriously, then it's a big waste of time.
Yeah,
So that's a good explanation on the strategy side. Let's talk a little bit more about the technology side now.
yeah. So on the technology side, love, there are two pillars underneath the technological spectrum that customers need to be very cognizant of. When they are selecting a particular technological vendor to implement their AI or to leverage their technology to AI, they should have the freedom of selection of technology. By that, I mean there are tons of different technologies out there in the marketplace. You can be doing AI using R, using Python, using Julia, and so many other different libraries. So, the freedom of selection of technology is super critical for teams to be more productive. And along with that, you need to have the freedom of selection of methodology. This becomes even more important than the technology that you're using. And I'll help you understand why. The freedom of selection of methodology. It, basically, in the marketplace, there are three different methodologies that are available to customers to build AI models. One is your typical programmable AI, where you're developing an open source notebook and building models. What customers do not realize that along with along with that programmable AI, you have the guided AI and auto AI methodology. By guided AI, I mean whatever work you're doing in your open source environment, you could be doing the same piece of work using a drag and drop environment. So that becomes your guided AI. And your auto AI is you feed the data to the particular application, and the application builds the model for you right from scratch. Now, why this particular selection of methodology is so important? Auto AI could be leveraged by people in the organization who are really smart on the data side and who have an incredible business knowledge, but they are not experienced programmers. Guided AI could be leveraged by data scientists who are starting off in their data science journey, or junior data scientists, or mid-level data scientists. And programmable AI should be leveraged by your senior data science people in the organization to fine tune and optimize your models that have been developed by others in the organization. Frankly speaking, if your brightest of senior data scientists are spending a lot of time in a Python notebook just to clean data and manipulate data, that's not a very good utilization of their time. And if you put in the auto AI, guided AI, and programmable AI all together, this will tie into your human capital strategy, how you are inculcating and fostering the data science talent internally within the organization.
Right, right. So it sounds like, if an organization wants to grow as a data science company, they need to be leveraging all three of these methodologies to harness that data science talent internally, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So can you talk a little bit about what happens next in this life cycle?
Yes, love. So, with that particular selection of technology and selection of methodology, customers will be developing models. But once the model is developed, you need to put that model into production. By that, I mean the model has to be integrated with the third party applications on which actionable business insights or business decisions would be implemented. So the transition from development to deployment has to be leveraged using technology in a completely automated manner. And not only post deployment, any particular asset that is deployed, it wears down over a period of time. Then you have to take care of the maintenance phase. So how are you going to train the model or retrain the model and all that stuff around model performance and model degradation? You should be leveraging technology that automates the transition from development to deployment and takes care of model maintenance behind the scenes for you.
So I'm glad you brought up maintenance. As you know, more and more important tasks are being handled by these complex AI models, right?
Yeah.
And recently there's been a renewed focus around bias. How should organizations detect and mitigate bias as part of their data science process?
Yeah. So again, with the right selection of technology, there are technological applications available in the marketplace that detect the bias in your development and maintenance phase of your machine learning models. So instead of your data scientist manually investigating and inspecting for bias or unfair practices that could sweep in inside your models, technology should detect those bias or red alerts or flags for you. And as a regular rule, customers should always be following the 80-20 rule. 80% of their time they should be spending on developing newer and newer data science models that are catered towards newer business initiatives, and 20% of the time should be spent on deployment and maintenance with the bias detection already taken care of with the right technology. Do not go ahead with a particular platform where you end up spending 20% time on development and 80% time on deployment and maintenance. So most of the successful customers follow this 80-20 rule to the heart, and they really get very productive with AI.
Got it. Got it. So what I'm understanding is, the strategy piece requires a cultural change in an organization. But for the technology side, aren't there a lot of open source tools and platforms out there that organizations can use for free? Why can't they just build their entire data science practice on those?
Yes, love. So think of the numerous capabilities that we talked about on the technological stack, the freedom of selection of technology, the freedom of selection of methodology, correct? Once the model is developed, the transition from development to deployment in a complete automated manner. Uh, Once the model is deployed, the automated retraining or the refresh of the model with the auto detection of the bias, all those capabilities should be built on open source, but with an enterprise grade support. You cannot really spin up a notebook environment in Python or in R and do everything from scratch. Yes, you can do it, but it will take you years and years and years. Whereas with the right technical rack under your belt, you can probably get it done in like 1 month or 2 months' time. So customers should be demanding vendors to have a platform that is built on open source, that gives them the freedom to leverage any particular technology in the marketplace, but it also makes them productive at the same time
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's
to adhere to the 80/20 rule.
Exactly, exactly. So it's not just about developing those models, it's about operationalizing AI in an enterprise environment. So you need that support, the monitoring, the management, and all those capabilities as well.
Yeah.
So my next question is, what technology or platform are you talking about that can do all of this?
Yes, love. So it's called the Cloud Pack for Data. And the best way to describe is one of my customers said it to me. Anything to do with data and everything to do with data is Cloud Pack for Data. That particular platform is built on the open source, built on a Kubernetes framework, and it is built on the Red Hat OpenShift environment so that customers can lift and shift their workloads based upon their business needs as they evolve. It is infrastructure agnostic, so customers can run that platform on their on-premises environment or can run it on any cloud environment. It is data agnostic, and it supports horizontal and vertical scaling. So that platform is called Cloud Pack for Data.
Got it, got it. Well, Nitin, thank you for sharing your insights with us today. We really appreciate your time. And if anyone watching found this breakdown helpful or would like to learn more about our platform, Cloud Pack for Data, please feel free to reach out to me or Nitin. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and thank you, Nitin, for joining us.
Thank you, love.